Hello, this is Richard Pennington. I am an advocate for Abner Haynes. I'm here to talk to you today about Abner Haynes and his candidacy for the College Football Hall of Fame. Here he is, Abner Haynes, North Texas State College. What is my connection with Abner Haynes? It goes back to December 9, 1962, which was my 10th birthday. My father had taken me to the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas, to see the Dallas Texans and the Denver Broncos play football. There were 19,000 people in the stadium that day, and I saw Haynes put on a fantastic performance. He gained 98 yards, he caught 3 passes, he scored 1 touchdown, and a victory for the Texans. Now you may wonder, who is Abner Haynes? So I will give you a short summary. He was born in 1937, so he is now 78 years old. He attended Lincoln High School in Dallas during the days of racial segregation, racial oppression, and racial injustice. Haynes was a very good football player in high school. However, he got no attention from the schools of the Southwest Conference, which at that time included the University of Texas, my alma mater, Texas A&M, SMU, TCU, Baylor, Rice, and the University of Arkansas. Now let me take just a minute to tell you about what may be called the Gentleman's Agreement. The Gentleman's Agreement, that is, there was an unwritten but probably a spoken understanding among the schools of the Southwest Conference that there would be no integration of football or sports in general. That was understood that in other words, the Gentleman's Agreement was, if you don't have one, we won't have one. So, in other words, here's Abner Haynes, a very good high school football player, but he got no attention from the major schools of the state of Texas. So his options were limited. He was a walk-on at North Texas State in 1956. He chose to go there. Denton, by the way, is 30 miles north of Dallas. He traveled there in June 1956, and he knocked on the coach's door. Coach was named Otis Mitchell. He said, "Coach, I want to play ball for you." Now, Mitchell was actually a good guy. He did not turn him away. He said, okay, if that's what you want to do, you can try out. He was not given a scholarship, and the research I have done indicates that he did not really think Haynes would come out for the team, but he did. So Otis Mitchell deserves credit for having a relatively enlightened attitude toward Abner Haynes in 1956. Haynes might have gone to a black school in Texas. For example, his brothers attended Prairie View A&M and played football there. He might have gone to Prairie View, but he chose not to, and that is, he decided to go on to North Texas and see what he could do. Let me tell you about something that happened in his freshman year of 1956. The second game of the season, the team went to Corsicana, Texas to play against Navarro Junior College. It was a harrowing scene. There were numerous racial epithets and death threats against him. And what do you think happened? Haynes scored 5 touchdowns in a 39-21 victory. The coach, whose name was Ken Bonson, directed the bus driver to prepare the bus, get the bus turned around and turn the engine on. So immediately after the game, the players went straight to the bus and got on and left. It was a very difficult situation. Let me tell you about something that happened when some of North Texas' opponents learned that the school had an integrated football team. 3 of its frequent opponents were the University of Mississippi, Mississippi State, and Southern Mississippi. They would not agree to let Haynes play at their respective campuses. And so they told Mitchell, don't bring him. you cannot bring Abner Haynes to our school and have a football game. And so Mitchell, to his credit, declined. Therefore, those three schools were off North Texas' schedule. But as a result of that, it had to join the Missouri Valley Conference. From 1957 to 1959, Abner Haynes led the North Texas State Eagles in rushing, in receiving, in kick returns, in punt returns, and, interestingly, in interceptions. What that means, he was a two-way player. Abner Haynes played offense and defense, which is very rare by that time. It was almost unheard of that this guy was going two ways. But the reason is he was such a fine athlete, and North Texas needed him on the field as much as possible. The research I have conducted shows that he was quite possibly the best running back in the nation in 1959. He gained 803 yards. He had a 5.4 yard average, and he scored 11 touchdowns. That can be compared with Billy Cannon. Now, Billy Cannon of LSU. I don't mean to be critical of Cannon, but I have to draw the comparison. Cannon was the golden boy, two-time consensus All-American, two-time Southeastern Conference Player of the Year at LSU, and the 1959 Heisman Trophy winner. Well, in my opinion, Haynes was a better player than Billy Cannon. And also, it's fair to point out that Cannon did not play defense. Another thing I want to mention is that North Texas was not going to make an issue of Abner Haynes being on the team. The school wanted as little publicity as possible. And therefore, there was no effort made to generate interest in Haynes as an All-American. He got no All-American votes. He got no attention in the Heisman Trophy race. Cannon, by the way, was a runaway winner in the '59 Heisman Trophy. Haynes got literally no votes. The College Football Hall of Fame is strictly about college. What a guy did in the pros, whether he was successful or not, made no difference. And that's okay, but nevertheless, I think it's indicative to mention what Haynes did in the pros. He was drafted by the Dallas Texans of the American Football League, and in 1960, he led the Texans to the AFL in 1960, he was the Player of the Year. In 1962, he led the team to the AFL Championship. He had scoring runs of 67, 59, 71, 46, 80, 47, and 65 yards. He had receiving touchdowns of 69, 78, 73, 68, 71, and 52 yards. Abner Haynes was a game breaker. Whenever he had the ball in his hands, he could go all the way. So the case can be made for him for not only for the College Football Hall of Fame, but for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There are two members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame who compare favorably with him, and that is Gale Sayers of the Chicago Bears and Paul Hornung of the Green Bay Packers. I believe that Haynes is no less deserving of being included in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as he is the College Football Hall of Fame. I want to say a word about the College Football Hall of Fame's rule about eligibility. In order to be considered for to be included in the College Football Hall of Fame, a player has to have been a first-team All-American by one of the five major selecting services. Haynes was not. As I mentioned before, he got no push from the North Texas State Publicity Department. So he was not a first-team All-American. I believe that he belongs in the College Football Hall of Fame for two reasons. The first, as I hope I've made clear, is that he was a great player, unquestionably a great football player, but also his role in advancing the cause of racial integration of college football in the South. Very important. Abner Haynes was 9 years before Jerry Levias of SMU. Levias came along in varsity in 1966, 9 years later. And then, immediately after Levias, the schools of the Southeastern Conference got in line. LSU, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, all of those schools across the Deep South began to integrate. The Jim Crow era of college football was over. And this is the man who brought about that change, Abner Haynes. If it were not for Abner Haynes, I don't know what. But somebody had to start it, and this is the man who did. Very important issue. So back to the College Football Hall of Fame. I do believe that he should be in the 2017 class. The National Football Foundation runs the College Football Hall of Fame. And I've read in Wikipedia that they have some special cases. If so, Abner Haynes is a special case. There are three men in particular at the National Football Foundation whose attention I would like, and that is Archie Manning, Steve Hatchell, and Matt Sine. These three gentlemen, I really believe, need to pay close attention to the candidacy of Abner Haynes and give him serious consideration for the College Football Hall of Fame. I will close by mentioning an old legal saying, and that is, justice delayed is justice denied. I'm calling for justice for Abner Haynes. Thank you for listening, and I bid you good day.